Support for the FM show is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels, and Manscaped's Performance Package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 8 million men worldwide, including us three, who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, our loyal listeners and viewers. If you use the code FMShow at manscaped.com, you will get 20% off and free worldwide shipping. We are so excited to have Manscaped on board as a sponsor. I've been using the products for ages. They've sent us the performance package, and it includes this, the Lawnmower 4.0. Now, I am a 43-year-old man. I manscape myself. I treat this a little bit like trying to do a football pitch. So I get stripes in there. I'm doing circles. I'm doing zigzags if I feel a bit exotic. The 4.0, the Lawnmower 4.0 features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. It's waterproof, which means no more mess on the bathroom floor, and also has a 4000K LED spotlight for a more precise shave.
Yes, they sent us the performance package. I've got the whole box, which includes the Lawnmower 4.0, but also the Weed Whacker, which cuts your hair and your nose hairs as well. So we've got that. Also, that came in the box. We've got the Crop Preserver, Ball Deodorant, and we've also got the Crop Reviver, your ball toner. Also lovely, a bit of a underrated thing that comes in this box as well. The boxers are absolutely comfortable, and you also get this nice, gorgeous travel bag with it.
That's exactly. It's a lovely, lovely looking, very classy looking travel bag there as well, isn't it? Now, I had never thought about you grooming my ear hair or nose hair, and I don't know if you have both been through this journey before. Obviously, as people can see and as viewers may know, viewers can see, as listeners may hear, I have a beard is basically what I'm trying to say here. And hair, kind of nose hair, kind of gets covered a bit, you know? You don't necessarily see, because of the hairs on your face, that there's nose hair growing as well. So that has...
I didn't know I had nose hair.
I'm a 43-year-old man. I know I've got nose hair. But not more.
This is it, and I have used it, and it's an interesting sensation the first time using it. A little bit ticklish, but I was surprised how sort of gentle it actually was, and does feel great now. I'm sort of doing that, and then it doesn't feel something straggling out. I can lift myself up to the sky with, sort of thing. And with the ear grooming too as well. Genuinely does feel like, oh yeah, it's nice. It's sort of nice and clean around there. I'm not noticing hairs longer than my arm coming out of my nose too. So I've been very
freshening yourself up,
from Manscaped.
Freshening yourself up, Steve. That's what it's all about. Make yourself fresh. For example, say you're sat, I don't know, playing FM for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours or whatever. You stand up. If you can smell yourself, that's not pleasant, is it? So I recommend a bit of that. Get the Crop Reviver on there, spray it in there, smell lovely. It's going to be beautiful. That's what you're going to be doing. So if you want to upgrade your grooming, go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping worldwide by using the code FMShow. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com by using the code FMShow. As always, use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Back to the episode. Welcome, everyone, to the FM show. I am, of course, your host, Tony Jameson, and joining me, as always, is RDF Tactics and producer Steve. Aaron, Steve, how are we? Aaron, we'll come to you first.
Oh, I've been lovely enjoying my 5 steaks, you know. I've been enjoying
Okay.
5 steaks, man. Like, just following us around.
There's that. And I've been having a good time on Football Manager recently, FM24. A bit sad that it's coming towards its end, but nonetheless, I've been enjoying it as it's like been released, and to enjoy whacking tactics out at the moment. I've been really enjoying my time.
If you are wondering what Aaron's on about with 5 stakes, by the way, check out the Patreon episode where Aaron and I were let loose on our own without adult supervision, and we talked about how Aaron likes to basically burn his steak and thinks that's edible. Steve, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I would love to never hear about that ever again, but I doubt that's going to happen. So there you go. And obviously, we can see what happens when the grown-up leaves the room. But there we go. If you guys do want to see that, as you say, go to Patreon to see what happens when they're left to their own devices. So I am well. I'm well. And just in terms of my FM sort of period between the last time I recorded episodes, it's kind of been like a new save, actually. I don't know. I mean, reply in the various ways you can get in touch on the show in regards to fellow long-term savers. I said like a new save, Tony. Not an actual new save.
I was worried. I was like, how are Fiorentina going to cope? I've chosen to manage the Fiorentina reserves.
No. Obviously the previous my previous presenter on this show, Lord McIntosh, his thing was like, or still to this day is still like manage under 18s, manage under 20s, and the senior team. That is crazy. I always said so, crazy for me. But anyway, each to their own in that regard, which is why this game is so lovely. It has been like a new save, and that's partly because we spoke about in episode 8, which you can go to on YouTube and on the audio feed as well, depending where you're listening or viewing this, about how you end a season and what you then do and looking forward. And so part of that was the planning. So having put my plan into action, I managed to sell / loan 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 players, half of which or so are going to come back. So it's developmental stuff. The rest of them I sold for a combined £218 million.
Ooh,
nice.
Well played, Steve. Well played.
So, and most of them, Dejan Kulusevski, who we spoke about in the last episode, 30, sold into Barcelona, 43.5 million. Mohamed Kudus, 30, to Monaco, 30 million. Had injury problems, that was a bit lower there. So actually, this will be a topic we should do at some point in future, how to sell well. How to sell well is something we should do in future, because I feel like I've done it, if I'm honest with you. But I'm sure I'll be told how I could have done better. But anyway, that's a fun one we should do. And conversely, brought in £117 million worth of players too. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 new players. So quite a lot of squad turnover in one summer, both ways. So it has felt like in the preseason that we've spoken about before, gelling all these new players together, figuring out how to play tactically slightly differently. I've changed, in selling Kulusevski and selling Angelo, I sold my 2 inverted wingers on the right, 2 starters. So now that role is changed because of the quality of players I've got now. So again, like a new save, like a new team, like you're walking for the first time when you have that much turnover. I also bought an old player back.
Now that's an episode as well. That is an episode as well.
And I've done this multiple times, but as you said, a deeper one. But just this guy, Bartolomew Drugowski. Apologies to any Polish listeners, viewers there. I think it's Bartolomew, but I could be wrong. He was at Fiorentina right at the beginning of my save. I won my first Scudetto with him in goal, and then Bayern came along, bought him for 67 million. At the point where I was a smaller fish being picked off by the big boys. I know, a lot for a keeper, right? Yeah. So I've come back 9 seasons later and I bought him back. Which felt great. Feels like the club is, it's kind of got to the point where I can, if I'm buying off Bayern Munich when they didn't want to sell him as well, that's like, that's what you want. So, so it's sort of like a new save, but also kind of like how the save just began in some respects because to those previous players. So that is how my time in FM and my week in FM land has been.
Okay, I like the fact we do like a week in FM. That's quite nice. It's a bit of a roundup. At time of recording, we'll do a little bit of touching upon we are in my save as well. And I am currently at time of recording in a cup final with Spurs, gentlemen.
Oof.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So
I'm not looking forward to that.
I have won I've won, as we said in the last episode, I've won the Europa League with Spurs. I've won the European Super Cup with Spurs, neither of which count towards my trophy haul that I need to win in order to complete my challenge. So that complete waste of time. Add that to the Europa Conference League I did with Celtic. So I've got 3 European trophies that don't count. But I am in the generic energy drink cup final, where we're going to take on Man City. So that should be a fairly straightforward walk in the park, shouldn't it?
The cup with 3 handles, right? That cup, yeah.
That's the one. That's the one.
And Man City are in the final. Huh.
Yeah, exactly. Weird, isn't it? Like, and I'm only in 2043, so presumably nothing's changed in the world. And I'm also only 10 points away from the top of the title. Arsenal are leading. Arsenal are at the top. So we're in January still. So I think there's about like 10, 11, 12 games or something. There's plenty of time for me to fall away. Like, and to be fair, I've had a really bad month, 6 weeks, like where I've lost about 4 or 5 games. And if I hadn't have lost those games, because I'm still within touching distance.
Yeah.
And I've had that really bad spell. I'm like, you know what? If only we'd maybe like got a couple of draws in there, we'd be a lot closer. A game where like we should have won. It's all ifs, buts, and maybes this game, isn't it? But we are within touching distance. I don't necessarily think that we'll win the title. I don't know if we'll win the Rumbelows Cup, the Zenith Data Systems Cup, the Littlewood's Cup. I'm going to call it.
Rumbelows. Were they carpets? They were carpets, weren't they? Was that Rumbelows?
Rumbelows was an electrical store.
That was it. Yeah.
But so we I don't think we'll win the generic energy drink cup. FA Cup we're still in because we're only in the 4th round. So who knows? Maybe we might have some silverware. Maybe it might be a season of empty-handedness. But who knows? We're having fun, and as Aaron says, we're just dialing down towards the end of FM23, which I've personally loved, and I'm obviously very, very excited about what's coming next. People, of course, are also very excited about what we're doing, gentlemen. Steve, you're talking there about tactical cohesion. Aaron, we've had a little comment on YouTube that says something quite similar about us, I think.
Yes, we got a comment from Neil Bathgate 9278. Slick show, Tony, Aaron, and Steve. It really feels like the FM show season is up and running. Yes, it is. Tactical familiarity has been achieved, and you have a good squad cohesion. Keep up the good work. That's a banging comment.
That's all the team bonding that we do, isn't it? All the golf trips and the paintballing.
Not the resting though, because I still haven't found out what we do on the rest.
the amount of pod reviews we have to do after recording, it's just getting tiresome now.
I mean, you think that they're joking, guys? It does.
That's brutal.
Especially because I can't tell you off, as discussed previously, I can't give it as we're doing this now, so it has to happen afterwards. And it is go run up a hill 20 times and down again. Yeah, that's what it is. Anyway, so thank you for that comment. We had another one too. This is really lovely from Sean Ambler 4518. They said another fantastic episode. The 1 hour a week with you guys definitely make my week much more special. You guys have got me through some tough days over the past 7 weeks, so I want to thank you for that. Keep doing what you're doing as you're smashing it out of the ballpark. Well, Sean, thank you very much, and I'm glad to hear that we're helping in what's been a difficult time for you, and I hope it gets better as soon as it can. But thank you for getting in touch. Really, genuinely, beyond anything else, glad to hear that you're enjoying it, and the ostensibly advice we're giving about the game, but more the nonsense increasingly as the weeks go by. So that I'm really glad that you're getting that out of it, and we're happy to be here for you.
Absolutely.
Yes, and we just touched on, and we're going to touch on further, our episode 7 when it comes to conditioning players, and a comment from Becky 1971 with regards to that. So that was, like I say, conditioning players, episode 7. Go down all the various places that you get it to find it, to check back in if you haven't listened to that one already. Great new way of making the show, guys. Thank you, Becky. It's a lot more difficult for me, but thank you. But more fun. Always fun to listen. So Becky is playing. I believe what he's saying is that he works as a scout for OHL in Belgium, IRL. This episode was no help at all On my last
star.
day.
Can we have a 5-star review, by the way?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If the episode is no help, just give us a 5-star and then just move on.
This much. 5 stars worth of not being helpful. That's how the rating system works, right? 5 is
100%. Yeah, 5 is dreadful. 5 is dreadful.
Yeah. So. Yeah, not a perfect science, but there we go. As an escape for myself, because I got a massive injury crisis literally after doing all the things that I said to do. So there we go. We can't win them all, can we, guys? But anyway,
I'm interpreting that he'd already started the save, and therefore our advice was useless.
I see. So next preseason.
Yes.
Yeah. Next preseason, he's going to take all that really good stuff and then be like, hey, these guys are geniuses.
Well, Becky, tell you what, when that comes around, let us know.
You could even say that with a straight face.
Let us know either way what the truth is when you can. But thank you for messaging anyway.
Also, as well, I'm going to stay on the slight theme of assistance, right? Shout out to Geeky Rabbit. Okay, last episode we were talking about conditioning. We went a little off piste at the start. Aaron obviously needed a bit of help conditioning himself after playing football, got himself injured. I recommended a deep tissue massage gun, and you all laughed at me. You all laughed and went, "No one's gonna buy a deep tissue massage gun, Tony." Shout out to Geeky Rabbit who has bought one. So he loves that. And they've also said that it's been fantastic and it's genuinely helped them. So there you go. Joke's on you two, eh?
It was more about jokes about you being drilled by Mrs. Jameson, if I'm honest. That's Which, for context, go back to the
no context. Don't get context. No, just leave it there. No context. Move on.
Okay. But also on that as well, I thought I did. I was talking on that episode about the roller thing that I have.
Yeah.
So I bring it up to sort of it's this thing. So it's
yeah,
and it's got those little knob ends. There's a hole through the middle, and I've had this for about a decade. Say again. Anyway, we're riding that YouTube censorship line, aren't we, at the moment? My lord. Anyway, yeah, it's from tptherapy.com. There you go, they're very good.
Not sponsored.
Yeah. And yeah, I've had it for a decade, and it's genuinely been, one of the things that help. But I imagine the gun gets to places that me rolling myself can't. And to get one of the things it's great for is that recovery, because your muscles sort of you need to roll it out and get the blood flow and heals quicker, etc.
Yeah.
Using that to get in certain positions for around the groin area does mean that I have to get in what can be described as compromising positions, and I was doing that on Tuesday evening. My wife walked past, was just like, "What?" You can, that the listeners' imagination go as to what that position was like. Anyway, should probably talk about the video game at some point, shouldn't we? That's probably.
So, do let us know if anyone else has any tips to aid recovery. Do of course feel free to let us know. We had as well. We had we put a little video. You might have seen we started to put little videos of the podcast out on Twitter and various platforms. We had a question that came in from a listener regarding the 10 commandments of FM. What are the do's and definite don'ts of FM? Because of course we have the FM confessional. That was the context that we were talking about. And we put that out, and we were going to do the 10 commandments this week, because that of course was the plan. Thought this is going to be brilliant. Loads of people are going to respond. And then Sports Interactive, incredibly inconsiderately, I think, announced the launch of FM24. I'll say this now. They've also inconsiderately launched it on the same day as our live show in Nottingham.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I know. That's me with my laptop on the train.
Oh, yeah. Downloading it on the data, yeah.
Yeah, during the show as well. Sorry, lads. Just got to finish the second half.
November the 6th, 2023, Nottingham Canal House, FM show live. Tickets are £5. genuinely bring your laptops now. I think that's we joked before. Saying,
first look at FM24, yeah.
But we might.
I've just had that idea as well, but I'm guessing we would have to. I'll say that offline.
Okay, that's good because I've said lots of ideas offline as well. So we'll work out which ones we're allowed to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Steve's nodding, going, "You better not have had any ideas offline."
Shut up. Yeah.
Yes, so of course, the news of FM24 has overshadowed anything we were going to do with regards to content. But one commandment stood taller and louder than them all, gentlemen. Commandment number 1: Thou shalt not save scum. Discuss.
Yeah, that goes without saying. Goes without saying,
well, yeah. That, but listening to the confessional the last couple of weeks, it doesn't seem that message has filtered through to everyone yet.
Dawn should be like, possibly number 1 commandment, I think, as well. What would be interesting, though, and do let us know, guys, if you have any additional ones beyond saves coming, because it's like, that's the sort of cardinal sin, I think, isn't it?
But when are you allowed to save scum?
Never.
No. So there's just no situation. So there was one situation. Obviously, I couldn't do it, especially live. But so we was playing. We've got this horrible habit of getting a big injury before a big game. So let's say, I don't know, I'm challenging for the title and I'm Arsenal. If Man City are second, I've got to play Man City on the Saturday. It just feels like that Friday, somebody's getting injured and it's going to be a good person. So, what? Because I was already not in a good mood at this point of the save. So I remember on stream, I saved the game. I was like, watch, everybody, watch. So-and-so's going to get injured on the Friday, blah, 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 blah. And then we're skipping it and the person got injured. So we was all laughing. It's like, so what do we do from this point? Obviously, everybody was just saying load it up. But I was generally shocked at the amount of people that was telling me to reload it again. And how they were accepting me just reloading that. So what I was thinking, is there actually any acceptable situations? I don't know. Let's say your little boy's come in and closed your laptop or something. Is there any sort of situation that you can't? No.
Let's discuss that when we do the commandments properly.
Oh yes. That's I just started to remember the amount of people that were actually. That was a shout for people. It was a recommendation.
For the audio listeners, I'm shaking my head vehemently at this point. There is never an acceptable time for save scumming. But do, of course, continue to put forward your suggestions for the commandments, which I'm sure we'll talk about next week, unless there's another game that's announced in the course of the week. But that'll be our new thing. So get in touch with us, of course, via Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, comments on YouTube, Facebook. Obviously, join the Discord server, which is growing, and those conversations are really taking place. Yeah. It's really, really great side of our community, which we're really excited to see develop. Links, of course, to everything is in the description below. Of course, you can email us if your correspondence is a little bit longer, can't you, Steve? You can send us an email to the FM Show Pod. That's the FMshowpod at gmail.com. And of course, if you can't make do with just one episode of us a week and you want more from the FM show, you can, of course, sign up to be part of our squad over on Patreon. Patreon is a great way to support us and the podcast if you can afford to do it. There's, of course, several different tiers starting from as little as £3 a month. You can get exclusive bonus content. Myself and Aaron do a bonus episode, which may have to be vetted from now on going forward. We also have weekly early access to the public episodes. There's a private channel in Discord as well. There's some tiers where you can submit your tactics direct to us for a bit of an MOT. To have a little look at what you can do, visit patreon.com/the FM Show Pod to become a member, just like Matthew Roberts and Tom Wicks did this week. So appreciate you both. Your support, of course, means the world to us. Just a quick one, just while this episode's on. I hope you're enjoying it, by the way. And if you are enjoying it, please consider hitting that like button. That'd be much appreciated. It shows us who's enjoying the episodes. And also, while you're there, why not consider hitting the subscribe button as well? You'll find out exactly when all the new episodes drop, so you'll never miss a beat. That, of course, pushes us up through the YouTube algorithm. It gets us in front of more eyes. And, of course, the more the podcast grows, the better it's going to be. There's also a little space for a comment. So leave us a comment. We love reading them. And we will, of course, get back to you as well. And speaking about getting back, let's get back to the episode. So it is official. FM24 will be released on the 6th of November, 2023. Now, gentlemen, if, for example, people aren't in Nottingham on that day, don't know why. I mean, why would you be anywhere else? You should be in Nottingham. You could even bring your laptop and bring FM24 with you to the live show. It doesn't just have to be your laptop. You could bring it on your iPad for FM Touch. You probably can't bring your console. I don't know if you can hook a PS5 up in the venue. Or mobile, of course, is available for all those different formats. There we go. It's official. It does happen. There's a little advert video as well, hype video that SI have dropped that gives you some little hints and tips, Aaron, as to some things that we might all be looking out for from that video. Before we go further into what has now been drip fed out, what is the initial things that jumped out to you from that initial, like, hey, here we go, here's the hype?
For me, it was literally right at the end of the video where they've got the little time map of the feature release. And then when I saw positional play, I was just like, oh, obviously. So that was my, what's going on here? And obviously something that we might actually speak about later as well, obviously, is the new feature of the transfer, the smart AI transfers as well. It kind of has me like, what's happening over there?
Positional play sounds like something I will not understand. And it sounds like it's going to be really important, and I am going to be cursing it for most of the year. But I will learn it, Steve. I will learn it, okay? And what's more important is I'm going to try and convince you to leave FM22 behind. Because now you may not benefit from this exclusively, Steve, and I apologize, but the news is official. Backwards compatibility with previous saved games. Now, if, for example, like Steve, you've got a game on at the minute on FM23, it should be said, and you love that save so much that you just can't let go. And let's face it, Steve, we've all been in that one more season moment that you just can't let go. Now you don't have to. You can bring that save game into FM24, get the benefits of FM24 to play with as well, and then that save can live on.
I think what's nice about that too as well is that you do, one thing I will say with FM22, and I'm sure many people listening and watching out there who have got longer saves and older versions of the game as well will sometimes go, it does feel, because of obviously every new FM, they update the database, right?
Yeah,
you do feel increasingly sort of slightly out of sync with it, which is, it's not a massive thing, but it is the idea of taking what I've got with Fiorentina, for example, and bringing it to it being up to date with everything else too, is appealing, and that's a great addition that they've now got. And going forwards,
one thing I've noticed from that, and we spoke briefly before we started on camera, like because of the way that I'm doing my save online at the minute, we're streaming it, because we're sort of changing clubs with regularity. I've been saving the end of season file, so there's a couple of those teams where I've sort of been talking about on stream, going, oh, you know what, it would be great going back and just seeing how that Crystal Palace team develops over those years. So you've now got that potential. If you have thought ahead, save those end of season files, drop them into FM24 and be like, oh, you know what, I will just pick up that and have a couple of seasons. Because I know you could sort of do it a little bit with versus mode, where you'd export your team from like a great side from FM23, and we can play against each other. So Fiorentina can play against Crystal Palace, who can play against every single team that Aaron's ever managed in the
underrated
world.
First half one team, second half the other team.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like literally just a
underrated feature, by the way. That is an underrated feature. Underrated
100%. Feature. We should do more of that. We should try and do that somehow, Aaron. We'll try and work on
100
versus mode thing. So that jumped out at me, backwards compatibility. And then something else, transfer room.
Cool.
Who wants to take the lead on transfer room? Because how I'm reading it, it sounds like it could be very, very exciting. It sounds like Facebook Marketplace, but for footballers. Getting all those players into a room and being like, right, what's the situation? I don't want to play for this club anymore. I want to find a new club to manage to play for. So, Aaron, talk to us about what you know with regards to real life transfer room, of course.
Oh, absolutely nothing.
What do you know about FM transfer room?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. I'm just waiting, intrigued. Obviously, once I noticed the little partnership, I obviously went and checked it out because I've seen it before, but it's not something that I've really like been interested and gone in to look at. And I've seen it and I've read it, and I'm now more intrigued how it would work in Football Manager. I'm guessing. Oh, I think I've read that they're gonna work their way into the game, so it's not gonna feature heavily in FM24, but then you will see more of a presence as the series goes on. So I'm excited to see how it's gonna work out. But I'm sure it's all part of how the transfers and negotiations are all changing in Football Manager, and it's all exciting for me. Everything's all exciting.
I think it's meant to lead, from how I'm interpreting it, probably similar to yourself. Yeah. It feels like it's going to be something that really benefits your new gens who are going to come in and be a little bit more independent. So they might say, look, you know what, from what we're reading on Miles's blog, it says that the player can put themselves on transfer market.
Yeah,
so they can almost be like, create their profile, currently playing for such and such, interested in moving abroad, that sort of stuff, putting it out on there. And then they can sort of put themselves out there a little bit with the assistance of the agent. So, Steve, do you reckon a little bit more agent involvement again? Because that seems to develop every year, doesn't it?
It's probably bad that I don't want that, isn't it? What I would say positively on that, though, we've spoken about it in previous episodes in terms of like how to find those little gems and unexpected transfers and stuff like that. You might have a budget where people's contract length's too long, their wages are out of your reach. But if you've got that detail in terms of, as you say, wants to play abroad, wants to return home or something, well, obviously have to see when FM24 comes out in November, but that could be a nice little extra thing to search for and go, this person would normally be out of my league, but they want to come to my league. So actually on this occasion, I can get them. That's interesting.
But you kind of got a little bit of that. So it feels like it's developing off from transfer deadline day on FM23, where if you look if you take part in the full transfer deadline day, you get the little sort of acknowledgements and notes of a deal that could potentially be struck. Maybe there's a player who all of a sudden becomes available. So is that, and this is of course speculative at this point, is that the sort of thing that you can build on from that to go, agents will be ringing around going, hey, just to let you all know, this guy's potentially fancies a move. The club aren't getting Champions League football. He's keen to move. Who wants to come and talk to him? And then you drive the transfer fee up, you drive something happening. So that could be really quite exciting in terms of how transfers develop, because that's the most fun part of the game. Transfers.
See, that's what, and that was the one thing as well. Like when I read it, I thought, so in game, how the players come to you, oh, you're not playing me, put me on the transfer list, rather than them having to go to you. Like what Miles saying, could they just put themselves sort of on the transfer list rather than coming to you and asking for permission? Because again, if you're kind of going for real life, I'm not sure if you need to go into the manager's office and say, hey, can you put me on the transfer list? Maybe there's ways now that you can kind of make yourself available without having to go to the manager's office knocking on his door.
Is that going to be like, Aaron? For those of you, and I know we should try and stop making references to Arsenal as much as we do in the show. For those of you who watched the Amazon All or Nothing Arsenal series, that moment where, I can't remember who it is specifically, comes in and says, Aubameyang's in Barcelona.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah, exactly. That sort of thing.
That's like,
but you, we've all wanted that sort of thing. So now it's like, I know, Steve, you're saying
that can happen to you.
There, but exactly,
because the things I've done for those players, I made them.
And maybe
I bought them £2.5 million from Fluminense in the middle of nowhere. YouTube, not doing it. And then they have the audacity behind my back.
Or maybe there's the agents just hawking these players around, going like, look, as you said, they don't even come to your office anymore. They're just offering them around out around. They've got their network of who they work with. So they're going, oh, you've signed such and such a player. Hey, I tell you what, we could maybe move this guy on as well. He's got a year left on his contract. 2 years. It doesn't. The club's made no attempt to renew his contract. Would you be interested in moving him? And all of a sudden, those conversations, they happen, and then you're sat going, oh, I hadn't really budgeted for this.
I suppose it does help as well if you do have players, because it is hard sometimes, isn't it? Especially if you've, for whatever reason, the real gamble is that you protect with the long contract and probably higher wages. And then for whatever reason, you move away from that player stylistically, or they drop off form or whatever, they're hard to shift. And you end up inevitably having to take a lower fee for them. So actually, if there are other ways of making that happen, that's interesting.
I don't think it's going to really affect the way that I play too much, to be honest. Non-league players tend not to have agents. Like, what'll happen is the place they're working shuts down, and then they're going to have to go and look for a new job.
Is the only time that you interact with estate agents? Sorry, fuck, I've done the joke.
Agents,
got it the wrong way around. No,
the job centre.
There you go. Is when the players are estate agents. Damn it.
I want to move. Oh, is it for career opportunities? No, mate, warehouse is closed.
Yeah, it's a lovely semi-detached down the road. It's got your name on it.
So that's potentially something that's interesting, and what I think builds off that as well. SI at time of recording have just dropped a new blog as part of the features roadmap, which says that there's an improvement in AI transfers. So while we're speculating that the agents are hawking players out behind your back, it sounds very much like the AI are going to start taking notice of this, and they're going to start being a little bit more picky, Aaron, as to who they buy.
Exactly. So what we're reading here as well. So I'll read just a little sentence. So a manager using a gegenpress approach will look specifically for midfielders with high stamina and work rate attributes if they determine that squad is missing such a player. So it feels like they're not just going to go and buy anyone because, oh, he's a good midfielder, let's just bring him in, and he can't actually fit their tactical style. It does seem now they're being a bit smarter with their incomings, and now, So a lot of people might be mudded because now it might be difficult to get rid of that guy that you're never going to play for 20 million. Because, hey, why are you getting rid of him? There must be a reason why. Whereas
again, that's like real life, isn't it? You've got so many clubs with high earners sat on their wage bill that they can't shift because those sorts of players don't fit into teams anymore now. Like, I suppose you've got the thing, and they're saying here on the actual blog post, they're talking about like the clubs will go, as you say, for specific players now. So there's almost attribute based. So if you're talking for gegenpress, they're looking for high stamina, high work rate. So they're not just going for the best midfielder who's got the best average rating, because they're looking for what's going to fit in the team, and therefore your players might become a little bit more desirable for the AI. And selling them is going to be a little bit harder, Steve. And you've just been so proud of £200 million worth of transfer income at the start of this episode.
218, Tony.
Okay, at the start of this episode, you were so happy. You might not be getting FM24, I think.
This is what, it's just sort of making it harder, isn't it? That's the thing. More of a challenge is obviously the other way to look at it. But I guess
that's what I think it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and also it does mean that, like, if it raises the level, then it does. The more I think about it, is the sort of doing the sort of save where it's like we've spoken about the big clubs, their wages, taking the sort of easy pickings from the falling tree from the bigger things. It does feel like it might give you more tools to do that.
I mean, I don't know how it's going to impact. Just trying to think of how people play the game. I imagine if you're one of these people who play the game for 3 seasons, maybe it's probably not going to impact you as much as if you're doing a long-term save, I guess. I mean, I suppose you look at real life situations where clubs are trying to sell very specific kinds of players. The market just isn't there for those players anymore now.
But you say that, I think actually there's a possibility of it actually affecting you more if you're only doing a 3-year save. So let's say I don't know, I'm in League 1, I'm Monaco, I need to knock PSG off, I've got 3 years. Now, the very good players that I can get in those first 3 years will be wanted by other people as well. So there's going to be a reason why I want a central midfielder with high work rate and stamina, but then there might be a Klopp that might want him as well, and there might be other managers. So actually, it might affect you literally from day one. Literally. And it does say brace yourself for more transfer battles. It does feel like the game is throwing in more challenges, but at the same time, getting you to think differently. So you're not playing the game as you was in FM21, 22, 23, and into 24. Now, slightly a different approach in your transfer negotiations.
And I suppose recruitment in football in general is different now. Obviously, the rise of very public rises of clubs like Brighton, I suppose. Of course, we're officially partnered with the game, and Brentford, obviously known for the way that they recruit. It does, of course, mean that some clubs are now looking, going, hey, you know what? We need to find a player who's £3 million and sell them off for £100 million, and that's how we just do business now. So maybe that's going to be a little bit more focused in the game as well. So someone like myself, you know, I'm going to find my little gems, but I'm going to be aware that they're going to go. But am I going to get more money for them now? Maybe.
Do you think that they might program in stupidity?
You can't program stupidity, Steve. It's just what I've got. It's just there's no way. There's no metric for how my brain would work. I've never worked it out. SI aren't going to get it. Hey, you know what? I wonder what Tony thinks. Like, I genuinely wonder as well.
It happens when it happens. What I mean is,
you know, like panics or something.
Without naming any clubs, often the actions of football clubs are baffling. / not as smart as you might, as they could be, considering they're multi-million pound organizations. So this is speculation again, because we don't know. I'd be interested to see if, because you mentioned this, there are smart clubs out there are less smart clubs out there. I wonder how that's going to shake out. That's interesting.
They are mentioning, just to sort of bring off that point, they are mentioning that the finances have been tweaked and improved. So there are clubs, as you say, Steve, who maybe aren't as prudent business-wise. And of course, there are clubs who just throw money and go, it'll be fine. And then they sort of knock on the door and go, just a very quick one. It's not fine. We need to finish them really quickly. So there's a little point on the blog which says that if you're struggling and you end up in negative transfer budgets, then the board will take over and you can they will highlight clauses that you've got in player sales, for example, and you'll almost be encouraged to activate those and get the players off the books to rebalance your finances. And if it goes wrong, then of course transfer embargoes, financial fair play, sanctions, etc., etc.
And I wonder as well, in terms of that, in priorities, if that is influenced too. If, for example, the board club priorities, which you can see in the game, are sign big stars, sign players over 30, etc. Maybe that's where like those factors come in. Their priorities are just different, rather than it being a conversation around competence or incompetence. That's really interesting.
It'd be good as well if financial stability, I think, Aaron, it does crop up quite a bit, doesn't it? Some of the objectives in FM23 is repair the club's financial damage, and you know, so that's maybe going to be, I suppose, the way of the world. Is that's how football is going, where football clubs are now having to run a little bit like businesses and go, there isn't an endless pot of money.
So I'm still stuck on Steve's question. We're just talking about, is there going to be stupidity? Because it's true though, because if you're trying to, like, you're replicating real life basically. So there's going to be smart decisions, but there's also going to be managers who've just absolutely just bought the wrong player. And can that happen in Football Manager as well? Like, is every manager going to be smart enough to make the right decisions basically? Because every manager still has attributes, right? So
but every club as well, like, you know, that's the whole point. Well, part of why football is so entertaining is because you've got these millions of pounds and really quite silly decisions often made.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I would like to see that replicated in the game. To be, I don't how they would do it is a different question, but I would like to see it rather than every manager being smart and every club being smart.
But I suppose it probably does, though, doesn't it? Because you look at, again, if we take real life football and Football Manager, none of us three would never agree on the same three players. Like if someone gave you three players to pick from for one position, for example, we wouldn't agree on the same player. We'd go, oh, actually, you know what? I like him because he's got X, Y, and Z, and I don't like him because that lacks for me. But for you, Steve, that could be the one metric that you're going, you know what? I don't mind that. That's fine. I've got a player who can cover that weakness in his game. And the AI managers are obviously going to look at that if they're now recruiting with a philosophy and a methodology in mind, then maybe they'll take more risks. And remember, they're only as good as their staff judging potential and judging ability.
That's true.
They will make mistakes.
That's true.
That's true.
That's very true.
Who would have thought on the section about stupidity I would talk sense?
In this crazy world, Tony. This crazy world.
I just like how we just both just sat there, just like, oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That is ironically the wisest thing you said, Orte. And actually, that shows, Tony. Do you know what that shows? How you development is what that shows. How you have developed.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
Just like in FM24, when you can do player development, and actually, one of the other things they talk about is how the AI itself, and generally speaking, don't just look at current ability. We'll now look at potential ability.
Yes,
which is a new thing as well.
Yeah. And previously, AI teams were less likely to pick youth prospects in the first team because of their low current ability scores, obviously. Now, those talents have a higher probability of being on the bench and will see more playing time when teams are ahead or controlling games in the latter stages. So, there is more intelligence from the AI here. A lot more, it seems.
I think also as well, this might just be my far more limited experience of the game compared to you guys, but there is a sense, even, you know, like I'm in my 9th season in FM20 on Fiorentina, for example, and you do look around and teams are starting to age out a bit.
Yeah.
Actually. And it's getting, and you know, you are into regens or having to develop yourself and take a punt and all that sort of stuff to find younger players.
Yeah.
Or actually what tends to happen is the teams lower down the league will have the younger players and play them.
Yeah.
This is the promise. Whereas the more established teams get older and older and older. Saying that, I'm in Serie A, which is an older league anyway. Maybe that. But that does then mean actually, you know, maybe that lends itself to longer term saves because actually players are being blood and developed and not getting like older players you have to spend lots of money on. That's interesting.
Yeah. And that was, I'm pretty sure a lot of viewers and listeners will share the same frustration. You would have a good youngster. Obviously, you're not a PSG. Let's say you could be in Division 1. And then you got this really good youngster, PSG, Man United, Juve, they're all coming in for him. And you just know the moment you sell him, none of these teams are going to play him and he's just going to rot in the reserves. Which that was a frustration that many of us have had in the last few years, which seems like they are trying to recorrect.
But again, that happens in real life, doesn't it? Like everybody's got a story of a young talent who is taken to one of the bigger clubs and just doesn't play.
Yeah.
So again, we talk about these stupidity decisions, these smart decisions. Maybe now, you know, the game is going to think slightly differently to real football. So
I think because more so it was about the game, not rather it wasn't they're not liking the youngster. It was more so the AI were just picking players because they were better. Even sometimes you saw like I played against a Kevin De Bruyne who's got 80% match fitness or whatever it is. His heart condition is very low, but it just seems that Pep has just picked him because he's the best player available. And they've got like a bunch of fit midfielders on the bench that they've just could have played and possibly got a better result in Football Manager. But it does feel like that sort of thing is being looked at.
Well, you wonder if that's now going to blend into a bit more rotation as well then, Aaron.
Yeah.
So you do get your youngsters, like for example, say they mentioned there about like when you're controlling a game or it's the last few minutes, maybe like a cup game or something where it's a game that they're really expected to win. You might see a couple of youngsters being given their debuts like you would in real life. maybe the generic energy drink cup. You get a young team out there sort of running around. It might be that, and this is a great part of the game cycle, Steve. I know we've still got a couple of months left, but it's the speculation now as to what's coming, how it's going to be, and that's
I think also just something I found a little bit on development as well. The late developers thing is interesting too, because it's that I think points to a bit more the potential ability you can have on impact on a player.
Yeah, getting the best of like a Jamie Vardy, for example, a bit late to the game. Arsenal had someone who was a little bit late to the game, didn't they? Some striker. He turned out quite handy.
Yes, he was the right choice, you might say. Yeah.
Ian Wright Matrix, I believe it's called.
I remember once actually when I was, because in a past life I worked on 606 with Righty, and I'd because that was the thing I sort of would do. I would buy the Opta Stats handbook every single year, and I think it was the Leicester season. Actually, we were in the studio. I was looking through it, and there's a section where it was like most Premier League guys, relevant as a late developer as well. Most Premier League goals over the age of 30, and Righty was top. So I took it through and showed it to him. He was like, "Wow, yeah." So that's so interesting. But again, that's another opportunity to get those sort of the marginal games in a way that makes it interesting.
So what I'm taking from this, so let's say there's a player with a potential ability of 190. There's going to be times where he's hitting his 190 ceiling pretty early. So there's going to be accelerated improvement in their teenage years before hitting their potential ceiling earlier on. Meanwhile, there might be guys that would... So let's say, for an example, player A reaches 190 at the age of 20, where player B might reach 190 at the age of 25, 26, whenever the late development stops in game. Which is pretty good. It means that you don't have to buy that next superstar pretty early. You can... It almost like, he's 23, but he's actually he's developing rapidly now. Still and you can sort of bring him in. Yeah, so now my eyes are not always going to be fixed on the 16 and 17-year-olds. Actually, this 22-year-old could also turn out to be the next superstar.
And I wonder whether that's going to be positional based as well, because again, you would see players like goalkeepers naturally develop later on in their careers. Italians, they don't start. They're wonder kids until they're 36, aren't they, Steve? And then it's like now.
Actually, I know this isn't how the game is geared, but for example, my Fiorentina save, as mentioned on previous episodes, I bought Lorenzo Luca when he was 28. Spending, and he was wonder kid status, 18 or something. So his moment to shine came he was a late developer, arguably, in terms of. Now he's got the Coppa Italia to his name. That's and his first cap for Italy.
I mean, even someone like a James Milner constantly developing, just doesn't seem to stop. What is his potential ability? He doesn't have it. It's just like the
player for me. It's got to be Kyle Walker. It has to be. Every time I see him, I'm like, how is the guy getting faster and stronger? Each year I watch him, it's just that this guy's actually getting better, which is quite scary.
I think also too that dynamic thing around potential is so interesting in terms of those a couple of like transfers of it, like because everyone, you're right, searches for the younger kid, the sort of I think in America they call them the phenoms, right? Everyone's so focused on that, and then when these guys, the person that comes to mind of many examples is Callum Hudson-Odoi. 5-year contract at Chelsea, Bayern Munich were after him, etc. Injuries often the way, and then not getting opportunities, that sort of stuff. Now he's at Forest. I think he's at Forest, isn't he? There's so many players you lose track, right? But had the spell in Germany, didn't necessarily work for him. So it'd be interesting to see now. How old is he, Callum Hudson-Odoi? He's still only 22.
Yes, he's crazy.
He was, he came into the senior team at Chelsea 2018. So young, 5 years ago, and he's 22 now. So he's at Forest. I really, actually, obviously, tribalism aside, I really sort of hope that he'll just get a run, play regular football.
Many people do,
like, that he can be that player. There's a slightly less good example in terms of Reece Nelson at Arsenal. He's 22, 23. And obviously everyone's like, well, unless you do what Bukayo Saka's done, you're not going to be a phenomenal player sort of thing. But, Reece Nelson could become a Premier League player easily.
Again, this is going to come down to how the AI build their squads and handle those youth players. So, there's your real life examples of players not being potentially handled correctly, or as we would maybe, again, we'd all handle those players differently. So therefore, different players, different outcomes, different permutations. Obviously, other stuff that hasn't been given more in-depth information, but has been sort of teased, I suppose, on this roadmap. Well, we mentioned this roadmap, by the way. It's on the Football Manager website, footballmanager.com, and it's obviously on their Twitter. It's a very handy guide to sort of let you know what's coming out when, and little hints for things that look like they're going to be improved on. For example, some stuff to whet the appetites. There's going to be a new intermediary role. So that might well mean that agents are being developed. So that not necessarily going to be the transfer market alone that helps you offload players. The introduction of targets for players. Oof. Now that's incentives, possibly, I think. Changes to the match engine. That's always a popular one. And this one, gentlemen, strap yourselves in, get those seatbelts on. A refresh of set pieces.
And Coach's debut. Coach's debut as well.
You just cut the whole set pieces thing off and just Coach's like, come on.
Coach's debut as well. Because I'm intrigued by what roles they're going to introduce. And I'm hoping it's one thing that I was always, it's about 2 years now. Ever since I saw, was it Liverpool? There was one time I was watching Liverpool and I was like, how has Liverpool always got the ball in the pitch? And it was because literally the moment the ball got off, it was a literally instant throw-in, but that was down to the set piece. Once you start reading, it's down to, because they've just hired a set piece coach, and yeah, they don't let the ball go off for so many seconds. They literally trained to get the ball boy to put the ball back into the pitch and all that sort of stuff. And it was like, there's actually a set piece coach. That was the first time, and it was about 2 years ago, and I was like, oh my God, that's got to get into Football Manager now. So I am hoping one of those roles or coaches is going to be a set piece coach.
And variety as well in terms of routines and stuff that they hope
yes.
Be really interesting too.
Yeah. So maybe an analyst as well. Because this is what I remember we were speaking about this, weren't we, about new features, and I was saying, set piece analyst, because I would love to know, are Man United attacking the near post? Are they weak at the far post? That sort of thing. So again, I'm hoping it's pure speculation and pure hopes, but I'm doing hope that's involved in the game now with the set piece refresh.
But that would be amazing to tie it in with the data hub as well. So as you say, you're going into these big games armed with this extra bit of knowledge. If you want it, of course, you don't have to be armed with this extra knowledge, but it could be there and it could be something else to use. Then another little sort of marginal gain to go, right, as you said, they're always targeting this guy. Let's make sure that we put another man there. In terms of refresh of set pieces, we know maybe it's going to be back post corners this year. Of course, our previous host loved a near post. Maybe he's going to have to go, how did I get the ball to the back post?
Yeah, I'm hoping there's different routines. Like you can be a bit. It's going to be difficult, but that you could be a bit smart. So Steve hates having to refer to Arsenal. I love it.
No, so I'm just thinking about our non-Arsenal supporting audience.
I'm sorry, viewers, but obviously we was watching a goal over the piece
before.
Well, actually, I say Arsenal, but this is actually every Premier League team recently that I watched. When there's a set piece goal and you see the celebrations from the coaches on the bench and how much it means to those coaches as well, and I guess it's one of those things. If we'll be able to be a bit smart, so let's say. We want to create a combination, a short pass, and then whip it in, far post goal. And it happens on the match engine. I'm telling you, I'm going to absolutely lose my head. Because I'm going to feel like a genius. And I'm hoping it's going to be that sort of thing as well.
Can I make one request? Not that any of us can do anything about it, right? But I'm putting this out into the ether, okay? Into the ether. So if anybody picks up on it and they goes, what a great idea. Like, if you're doing a refresh of set pieces, please, can we not have a suggestion of the role for whoever it is to just lie on the floor behind the wall? I don't want that in the game at all. Like,
the free kick.
I've got these three in the wall. I've got this person marking like the back post, and I just want to click one player to lie down. I don't want that.
It would be so hilarious. I don't want that. And the first highlight, set piece, Kevin De Bruyne stepping up right under the
wall. 3 times in a row. Yeah, he's not got someone lying down. It's his own fault.
Why you need a draft excluder, Tony? That's why you need
my philosophy. No players on the walls. My philosophy.
One more final thing I did notice actually, which I thought might be worth pointing out for you in particular, Tony. When Sports Interactive talk about dynamic income streams.
Oh yes.
Generally speaking, for the wider game, it gives you a bit more clarity of information, less stuff in terms of other money or losses, etc. So that's interesting. But for clubs in the lower divisions, they will now turn professional at the point of promotion rather than at the end of the season. A crucial good few weeks or months difference in terms of budgets and everything else, and from planning. That sounds good. There'll also be more discernible sporting and financial setbacks from not switching back to from professional to semi-professional following relegation in the lower divisions. So that sounds like the drastic financial changes that go through each division. I've no idea. I've never done this myself, but I hear that is what happens. You know.
It's good for financial planning when you do get promoted. You have to turn professional because you do want to get that recruitment up and running as quick as you possibly can. But in previous versions of the game, you were often hamstrung as a semi-pro club until the game pulled through the new season.
There's like a certain date.
24th of June, I think it usually is, and the date the game pulls through. So you've been sat for like 6 weeks, 7 weeks as a semi-pro club, potentially missing out on targets that you need. You're not, your facilities, your players obviously are already on holiday, so they're not going to get the benefits of it anyway. But there is a bit of an impact, I suppose. Like, I think we kind of like us lower leaguers, we take it. We understand that it's going to be a bit difficult. And you know what? Finally, a nice little bit of light, Sean, going, hey, you know what? Maybe you do deserve a little bit of help. But unfortunately, second year club professional, then we've got, pensions to pay and national insurance contributions and all that sort of stuff. So actually, it's probably worse for us financially for a little bit. But dynamic income, great. Apparently, there's a thing with it's in about. There's a season ticket league as well, so you can work out who's selling the most tickets. So that might be something. I don't know. And then again, whether that suggests a development with regards to league popularity and TV and all that sort of stuff. Who knows? We can speculate until the cows come home, I suppose. But what we should probably do is take it as that's the information we've got right now. And I don't know about you lot, but I am a bit more excited than I was this morning.
I'm a lot more excited. Yeah. I'm so excited over FM24. That's it. The moment I see something new or I hear something new about what they're doing tactically, I'm like, oh, and I quickly run upstairs if I'm downstairs. I open the tactic creator and my head's in FM. But that's just me. Everyone knows it.
We've got a live show coming up on Monday, the 6th of November in Nottingham at the Canal House. It's part of the Nottingham Comedy Festival. If you're interested in coming to see the FM show live, seeing myself, seeing producer Steve, seeing RDF Tactics in person, then there's a ticket link in the description below. The tickets are priced at £5. Come and see the show. Come and hang out afterwards. We'll do a bit of a meet and greet. We'll do a bit of a chat. We'll talk FM. Bring your stories. Bring Matt Doherty if you can. But yeah, Monday the 6th of November, the Canal House in Nottingham, £5, ticket link in the description below. Get your tickets, come and hang out. It's going to be fantastic. If any of that we've spoken about there has raised any questions and you think I need to find out a little bit more, do, of course, get in touch with us, tweet us, send us messages in Discord, send us emails, Steve. Emails. Do you remember them? The things that we used to do, the things that every week we open up and we talk about them on air.
Electronic letters, you say?
Electronic letters, yeah. They don't need no stamps, right? Yeah. So let's do some now, actually. Let's do some emails because we had quite a few come in and correspondence. First of all, I know we're bigging up the emails here, Steve, but message in Discord.
Yes, exactly. From Kevin V90 NL. Which says, hi guys, hello. Requesting here sort of maybe to bring back the sort of legends of the game bit, which we had in the previous era, highlighting a true hero of Championship Manager or Football Manager from years gone by. Or if not that precisely, devoting an episode to, or in an episode talking about those former legends, both in a sort of wider community. Obviously, Cherno Samba is one of the big ones that people talk about, for example. But even for you, for the three of us, in terms of what of our, what our ones were, to sort of remember and educate everyone about some of those great stories like To Modera or Maxim Sigalko, for example, the ones that Kevin mentioned, which I'm sure will mean an immense amount to some people and absolutely nothing to others. So, Kevin rightly pointing out the game has so much history that it'd be sad not to mention it on the odd occasion. So, also feeling old, I think we all do at a certain point there. Cheers, lads. Thanks very much, Kevin, for that. And I think at some point we will absolutely reminisce.
I like that.
Yeah. We also got a little message from Nick Madden from SI. Now, we were talking about the 10 Commandments, and he's replied, "I shall never moan when one of my players hit the woodwork." Now, that feels like it was directed to myself.
That didn't hit the woodwork, did it? That went straight in the top corner, didn't it?
Straight in the top bins, that one. Straight into the top bins. Thank you for the message, Nick, I guess.
That has basically made it to comments of the month, the little highlight reel we're gonna have. It's just like,
it's literally one of those things as well. When I see certain stuff just out and about, I don't know why, just out and about in town. I like to get reminded about the woodwork. I do like to get reminded about the woodwork from creators as well.
Well, you are known for your disdain of the woodwork. In fact, so much so, have I mentioned this on podcast before? I don't know if I have or not, but we so obviously Aaron streams on Twitch, twitch.tv/RDF Tactics. I'm twitch.tv/Tony Jameson FM. When we were streaming a few weeks ago, you had one of your how do we call these, outbursts?
Yeah,
about the woodwork. And
meltdown.
I have a channel point redemption thing as part of my stream, that if you watch for long, if you get these little sort of magical channel points, and you can rename a new gen in the game, and you'd had a right rant in the afternoon. So one of my chatters decided to rename our new striker Aaron Woodwork. And do you know what he did when he made his debut?
No way.
He came off the bench, hit the post 3 times.
No way.
Amazing.
No way. It's just annoying though, because it is one of those things. I watch football and this is like, one team will hit the woodwork and then the other team will go down the other end and hit the woodwork. And I'm like, didn't have to happen in real life as well, because it's one of those things for me. It's not real. That's my go-to. It's not realistic. And now it's just every football match I watch, ping, woodwork, and I'm just like, this is just annoying now.
Confirmation bias, Aaron.
Yeah, exactly.
You're wanting to see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Do feel free to get in touch with your FM conspiracy theories as well. Feel free to get in touch with those. Sporting in the Discord has sent us a rather lengthy message here, which is very, very nice. Hi guys, I need a bit of help. You've come to the right place, potentially. Should start out as a caveat. I've gone hard very early there. You've come to the right place. 2 more lines. We can't help. Sorry. So it says, I need a bit of help. I'm doing a sporting save and I'm having trouble competing with Benfica and Porto. Porto have the 3 musketeers of Taremi, Tony Martinez and Evan Nilsson, who are constantly scoring. Benfica has the largest transfer budget in the league and will bring in significantly higher profile players than anybody else. I'm about 75% of the way through the second season, done a bit of transfer business. They've sold Pedro Porro to Real Madrid for £45 million plus add-ons. That is nice. Good business. Good business. And we've brought in Teles Magno from New York City FC and Guile Rosas from Sporting Gijón. We're currently running a fairly balanced 3-4-3 against the larger clubs and an attacking Joga Bonito style 4-2-3-1 against the weaker opposition. He asks, is there any tactical change I should be making or any signing recommendations or types of signings I should be looking to bring in, or just general tips? There's about £12.5 million left in the transfer budget. Thinking about bringing in the goal machine Beto from Udinese. I think the first port of call would be, if you're asking about your tactical setup, is Aaron?
Yeah, I was just thinking, he's got his Joga Bonito style. I was just thinking just to be brave and go for it at Benfica and Porto as well, because sometimes we get this thing about when we're playing bigger teams, sometimes we should always sit back. As you said, sometimes always. That don't make sense. But we think that always sit back. But there's also that theory that they're the ones that are going to be the attacking ones. So if you go attack as well, you can actually exploit some gaps that they create. Now, obviously, you might have to be a bit smart and savvy about it. You don't want to go all out attack. but attacking these teams might also be the way to go. And regarding the transfers, I think you've actually mentioned one of the perfect signings to make better. Now, you mentioned Benfica are able to bring in higher profile players, but maybe you can find those Football Manager players that perform like them, but don't necessarily have that reputation, like a Beto. Beto, for me, easily a 20-goal striker, which most of the times you would have to go for a higher reptile player. So maybe try that sort of thing where you're looking at defenders, midfielders, attackers who will give you that sort of high-level performance, but don't have that reputation behind them, which means you can grab them for 12 million and 8 million and things like that. And Sporting as well, make use of your youth system. Very good youth system, possibly the best in Portugal. Ooh. Definitely make use of that.
Steve, it's a great point Aaron's making there about not necessarily looking for the higher profile players. And again, without wanting to bang "this is a future episode" drum one more time, finding those little gems, that is an episode, because it's a skill, it's a talent, isn't it? Football clubs the world over are desperately trying to find the best players for the least amount of money, yeah?
Yeah, completely. And it's it's different context, isn't it? Obviously, in context for Portugal, he's got Benfica, Porto to compete with, but then also bigger fish from outside, mainly the Premier League, for example, coming in to take those players off him too. It's it's all that does sound quite an appealing say with regards to you've got a couple of rivals to quite similar to Serie A actually, like, trying to get past AC Milan into Juventus as another team in Italy. So you've got to just be smart and find the gems. Actually, as you say, we'll do a little topic on that at some point. I'm just making notes as we go along.
I think you've already done a great thing, and you've sold Porro for 45 million plus. That's your model. That's your model. Build your players up. Again, we have talked about it before, and it's part of future episodes. Is learning when to release those bigger players and going, you know what? I need to sell them for the greater good. 45 million pounds. Yes, fine. Like Porro's fullback, isn't he? Yeah. So 45 million quid. For 45 million quid, you can get another really, really good fullback, and you've still got money to add a midfielder or add a centre-back or maybe another winger, like at that level. So you could get a right-back and a brilliant goalkeeper. So it's
hopefully they haven't sold him, but they do have Diomande, and many people play him at centre-back. I play him at right-back, mainly because of the concentration levels. So I play him at right-back at very, very solid. Difficult to get past someone that's very strong, but also very fast. That's Kyle Walker. That guy is just immense. And but if there's another recommendation, I don't know why I just randomly thought of this. I was just thinking of players. Who else is there? Matt O'Reilly from Celtic, the absolute gorgeous left foot on Football Manager. And it's one of those the attributes you look at it and you'd be like, I can find someone better, until you actually play with him as a Mazzala. Oof.
I'm calling out the player that every save needs if you can afford him. The man who can play every single position known to man.
No, he's coming.
Superman himself, Matt Doherty.
Search for a star.
Who also, by the way, does have continental experience playing in Spain.
Yes.
So not the same as Portuguese, of course. But
he's at Wolves now, so he's learning Portuguese. There you go. There's the link. And of course, more importantly, if you want a bit more help with your tactics, because I'm aware you have put some tactical screenshots in the Discord, maybe we can revisit that as part of the tactics garage, Aaron, and we can have a little look and try and re-diagnose that. But again, give us a bit more context, Sporting. Let us know which parts of these tactics you want us to look at, whether it's a specific role or whatever. But of course, do send your tactics in if you want them tweaked, particularly. Of course, FM24 is going to be on the horizon, so we're going to be really looking at that when the new game comes out. But if there's anything you think, I need a little bit of help on this for, send us a screenshot of your tactic. Let us know what's wrong with it, and then we can potentially have a look at diagnosing some of those problems. Steve, you've got another piece of correspondence.
I do, yeah. I forgot. It's kind of an addendum at the end. I forgot Vecchi's message from earlier in the show. It was also in the context of the save that he was talking about. Playing in Hungary, qualifying for the group stage of the Champions League, which in Hungary you have to sort of be champions and then go through qualifiers. So it's not an easy thing to get through. So congratulations to Vecchi for that. He is playing with Ferencváros. I think I've listened to the pronunciation about like 10 times. So Ferencváros, I'm pretty sure is how it is. His group has Man City, Salzburg, and I can't remember who Pathanope is. Napoli. There we go. Afanope
that
in
is
the game.
not a good group.
So that is tricky. But what's coincidental, the fact that they're playing in Ferencvaros is... I happen to have a Ferencvaros shirt. And there you go.
Wow.
Literally, I think in my head, because it says Ferencvarosi.
Nice.
There you go. And guess who bought it for me, Tony?
Who, Steve? Who may have bought you a football shirt that I'm sure is 100% legitimate?
Well, my mother, as part of her job, traverses the world. Actually, time of recording, she's in Chile at the moment. So,
Look forward to seeing your Chilean shirt that is absolutely official.
Yeah, 2 E's or something. But so she was in Hungary as one of her work trips and bought that shirt. So yeah, of all the random shirts that I seem to have, Ferencvaros is one of them. So, but good luck with that group, Becky, because that is
that's a toughie.
Yeah,
even getting into the Europa League, that's tough.
Yeah, I was thinking that if I was to put down the fixtures and the things, that one winnable game, possibly at home to Salzburg.
Yeah.
But I don't want to put it down.
That's one of those where if you're being slightly pragmatist about it, you're really hoping that City and Napoli just completely dominate, get maximum points, and then it becomes a question of you and Salzburg.
You and Salzburg,
Looking at that group, the best that I would hope for as a manager is just fulfilling all my fixtures. Like I'd be literally going like, just gets to like match day 4, and I'm like, you know what, it's not worth it. Just save the travel.
I'll be intrigued to see if the first game as well, because if you've got the Etihad the first game, it's just like, oh my god.
And actually goal difference as well, like the game, especially against City, it's like just damage limitation, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what? Maybe you can do it. I'm going to believe in you. I'm going to believe you can get this done. Right, up the little guys. Yeah. Be all right. Arthur Norp aren't even a real team. What are they doing there? You know, never heard of them. Never heard of them. Anyway, let us know how you get on. That's the important thing. That's the takeaway from that. Let us know how you get on. And of course, get in touch with us. If you've got anything you want to talk to us about, whether it's a short comment via Twitter, via comments on YouTube, Discord, of course, all that sort of stuff. Or if it's a longer piece of correspondence, like, for example, what you're up to with saves or a save idea or things you're looking forward to in FM24. Maybe it's part of the 10 Commandments that you think, you know what, I have the definitive list and I'm going to email in. Please do feel free. It's the FM Show Pod at gmail.com. It's the FM Show Pod at gmail.com. And of course, we look forward to reading them as we get them. And that was episode 9 of the FM Show, hosted by myself, Tony Jameson. My co-host is Aaron Falloon, aka RDF Tactics, and our producer is producer Steve Hankey. Take care of yourselves, stay safe, and we will see you all next time.